this next speaker is cute as a button. She's just cute as a button. And Cheryl Broderson told me about her, and so I talked to her on the phone, and as she shared her story with me, I'm like, some things that she was saying was just clicking, and you would never believe where she's come from and what she looks like. She's just cute little blonde petite thing. And so her name is Erin Williams, and her story is called Boundless. So please help me welcome Erin, Boundless. Is she cute?
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Good morning. Am I on? Yes. Okay, let's see. This thing keeps slipping, so. Well, it is just such an honor to be here today. I can honestly say that I never thought that I would be standing here today testifying of what God has done in my life. It's just incredible. So I'll just get into it. So for me, growing up as a kid, I had a pretty normal childhood. I went to Christian school most of elementary school and stuff. I grew up riding horses. That was like the love of my life. It was my everything. I had a hard time in school. Like, school never came easy to me. I had to take special classes, and I would be pulled out of the classroom just to so I could keep up with the rest of the class. I had to take Ritalin and just had to work really hard just to get average grades. And somewhere along the lines, I believe that something was wrong with me and didn't understand like why I was different and stuff. And by the time I got to middle school, I just really struggled with insecurity and rejection, pretty normal stuff that teenagers struggle with. But I ended up finding acceptance with like the troubled kids and stuff. And I started drinking alcohol and smoking pot and taking acid and stuff. And for the first time, like, I felt free. I remember my first time I got drunk, I just remember just feeling freedom and all the feelings of just shame, and it just went away. I didn't care what people thought about me. I was more outgoing, and it numbed any pain that I felt. So I kept getting in trouble and like ditching school and sneaking out at night and stuff. And eventually my parents pulled me out of the middle school that I was going to. And the summer before I went into my freshman year of high school, I went to a Christian camp, and I ended up giving my life to Jesus. Like, I mean, I knew the Lord as a kid, but I never actually like gave him my life. And so that weekend, I surrendered everything to him, and I just remember feeling his love for the first time, and just his presence. And for the first time, I felt happy. I remember like just getting rid of all my old friends and throwing away my CDs of just like the trashy music I was listening to. And but I didn't really get connected in the church that I was going to. And when I started to struggle with those same things again of insecurity and rejection, I just went back to my old ways because I didn't know who I was as a child of God, and I didn't know what it meant to be in Christ and the freedom that Christ gives. And so when the lies came and the enemy started telling me, that you're not good enough and you don't belong and no one likes you, I ended up going back to the same group of friends. And I believe that, the bad kids were safer than the good kids, and that's what became my reality. And so I became sexually active when I was 15, and I thought I'd be a virgin until I was married, but I didn't know my worth or my value, so I didn't know how to say no when the opportunity came. And so life of addiction for me I never was just like a partier on the weekends. Like, for me, drinking and using drugs was a form of self-medication. Like, I needed it just to function, just to do daily stuff. I drank on all my jobs. I drank first thing in the morning. And, drugs were a part of it. I mean, I, again, smoked pot and would do ecstasy and mushrooms, acid, take pills, like pretty much whatever it was, I would take it. So I remember, so pretty much like through high school and stuff, like I was a raging alcoholic, and by the time I was 22, I knew I had a problem, and that it was like stealing my life. And so I ended up having a friend that like suggested I go to AA meetings, and so I started going, and like people would take like their 30-day chips or 60 days or a year or whatever, and I just didn't understand how they were doing it. Like, I wanted to change, but I wasn't willing to give everything. I thought I could just go, I could do these classes or whatever, and then I could keep everything the same. And so like I did that for about 4 months, and I couldn't get past like 24 hours. Like, I think the most I got was like 3 days without like drinking or taking any drugs. And so finally, after 4 months, like I was so filled with guilt and shame that like, I just, it was just like confirming that thing of like, you're a failure, you can't do this and stuff, and you're never going to be anything. And so I remember like one night, I just got completely loaded, and I ended up bashing my guitar in a friend's wall and put a hole in his wall, and I tried to light the Bible on fire and stuff like that, because I was just so angry at myself. I didn't understand, like I wanted to change, but I didn't know how. And so yeah, so basically after that point, like I just, again went back to old behavior. And when I was 24, I ended up meeting a man who was twice my age. He was a member of a notorious gang, a well-known biker gang. And in this relationship, like pretty much I was doing cocaine before, but this guy had like endless amounts of cocaine. I had just as much as I wanted. And so basically I started using cocaine every single day, every morning, all day, 24 hours. And I ended up learning how to, it's called like freebasing, which is basically cooking it and making it into crack. And I became a crack addict at that point. And again, it was just all day, every day, until that wasn't enough, and I started using speed. And so like basically it just got worse and increased, and the progression just got, like I was functioning. I was working full time. I actually made really good money down in San Diego. I do hair for a living, and so I was showing up to work and putting the mask on, and so, but I would go on these like 3-day binges where I would just be up for 3 days and showing up to work. I'm surprised I didn't cut somebody's ear off, like, so, but I got pretty heavily addicted to pornography as well, because, I mean, it was just, it went together with the drugs. Like, I would basically, like, we would do the crack, and then, like, he would put on porn, and there was also like some sexual abuse that went on, that was just like things that happened that I won't even mention. But I will say that it's like the enemy's plan is to just push you to the point to where you don't have conviction about things anymore, and to where you don't even, you don't even know who you are. And like, that's what would happen. Like, he would push me to the point to where like I would go along with it, and then like to where I ended up not having any conviction, and then it twists, and then it's like you're the one that instigates those things, and it's messed up. And so yeah, I would go to work, and I would get off, and I would promise that I wouldn't use, and of course I would get off and I would use, and then we'd like be up like watching porn. Sorry, I'm being really, this is actually my first time really talking about the pornography stuff. So, and then I would take Xanax to try to go to sleep, and then I would use more crack, and then watch more porn, and then take more Xanax to try to go to sleep. And the next thing you know, the sun's coming up, and I have to go to work, and I would go to work, and do the same thing over again until like 3 days would go by. And so, like, you know, for a while, like, I did okay and I was functioning and stuff, but after like about a year and a half, like, my body just started breaking down. I became extremely paranoid. Like, I would go outside to smoke a cigarette and I would, you know, think that people were watching me through the apartment complexes across the street through telescopes, and it just, you know, like, just the paranoia was just crazy. I would talk in circles. At one point, like, this guy had basically like an arsenal of firearms, and he would always keep like guns by the bed and stuff like that. And I went to go reach for one of the guns because I wanted to shoot myself, and luckily he pulled the gun out of my hand, and I wasn't able to do that. But like, that's just the point where I was at, where I just didn't want to live anymore, you know, because through this, like, I was still going to church. Like, I had already given my life to Jesus. Like, I love the Lord. Like, the problem wasn't that I didn't love Jesus. It was that I didn't know how to receive like his gift of life. I didn't know that he wanted to set me free. And so I was going to church, and I would just like do lines of cocaine like before I would go into church, and I would do shotguns of beer before I'd go, and I would just sit in the back and just cry out like, God, like, how did I end up this way, you know? And just so filled with shame, and I would leave before anybody could talk to me, and I just, you know, I didn't want to get connected. And so basically, I ended up opening up to a group of friends that had been praying for me for years, and they ended up pulling together an intervention. They told my parents, they were like, Erin's going to die if we don't do something. And so they ended up pulling an intervention where, I don't know if you've seen the show Intervention, but it's like just like that, where everyone sits around and tells you how you've affected their life and stuff. And basically, I went into treatment that night, and for me, treatment was drug and alcohol treatment was my first step towards freedom. That's where Jesus met me. And, you know, Jesus began to just heal me, and I started to deal with those underlying issues, and he started just setting me free from the inside out, and just pouring his love on me, and showing me that I had a purpose and a destiny. And I remember when I got off all the psych meds, I was on just all kinds of like antidepressants and anxiety medication, sleeping I just had tons of medications that I was taking. And when I finally got off all those, like, the lie got exposed that it's easier to die than it is to live. And I just would have suicidal thoughts. And I remember I was talking to a friend one day outside of the church, and I'm telling her these things, and she's like, I see the word hope written across your forehead. And like, in that moment, like, just suicidal thoughts completely left, and I never struggled with suicidal thoughts again. It was just in that moment, like, the power of the word hope. And so, like, for me, hope isn't just a word that I read in the Bible. It's not something that I just read in a card. Like, the word hope for me is the difference between life and death. And, you know, the Lord showed me that hope is like an anchor that we cast out into what God has for us, and it pulls us into who he's created us to be. And so hope is a really powerful word. Every time I see the word hope, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that's the word that like made me like want to live. And so when I I smoked a lot of cigarettes like most of my life and stuff. And when I was about a year and 4 months off of the drugs and everything, I wanted to quit smoking. And I was going to Capitol Beach Calvary down in Dana Point. And I remember I went into church one night. I wanted to quit smoking on a Monday, and it was a Saturday night. And I went into the prayer room and got prayer and just told her that I wanted to quit smoking. And like, this lady prayed for me. And like, literally that night I walked out and I never smoked a cigarette again. Like, like, Jesus just like broke the chains like that. Like, I remember even driving to San Diego and back with a cigarette in one hand and a lighter in the other, and I couldn't even light it. Like, it was just like that chain was broken instantly. God cleansed my memory from the pornography. Like, as soon as I got off all the drugs and stuff, like, I never struggled with that again. It was just so connected to the lifestyle, and I don't even remember, you know what I mean? So that's how good Jesus is. Jesus healed my brain. Like, when I first when I got involved in like Bible study right away and everything, and I mean, I'm kind of like an all or nothing person, so like I just like jumped full in like once he was restoring me and everything. And I remember when my Bible study women, I go to school up in Northern California, and I remember when my Bible study ladies, they prayed for me and blessed me before I went up, and they're like, Erin, we remember when you couldn't even finish full sentences, like, because my brain was like, my thoughts would interrupt each other. I would just like repeat myself and talk in circles, or like I would try to say something and another thought would interrupt and I couldn't remember what I was going to say, like stuff like that. And like Jesus like totally like restored my brain, like, you know, from the damage of the drugs. And so, you know, like I was looking for love, I was looking for freedom, you know, and all those things were a false sense of intimacy, a false sense of freedom, a false sense of security. Like, the Father is our security and we're secure in Him, you know, like we don't need those things. And once we know who we are as children of God, like we don't need to look to those things to fulfill those empty places. And there was a scripture that I had. The Lord just gave it to me yesterday. I have no idea like what I wanted to read, but it's in Hosea, excuse me, and it's Hosea 2:14, and it says, "Therefore I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. There I will give her back her vineyards, and will make the valley of Achor a door of hope. There she will respond as in the days of her youth, as in the day she came up out of Egypt. In that day, declares the Lord, you will call me my husband. You will no longer call me master. I will remove the names of Baals from her lips. No longer will their names be invoked. In that day I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field and the birds in the sky, and the creatures that move along the ground. Bow and sword and battle I will abolish from the land, so that all may lay down in safety. I will betroth you to me forever. I will betroth you in righteousness and justice, in love and compassion. I will betroth you in faithfulness, and you will acknowledge the Lord." And I love that. It says, I will betroth you in righteousness and justice. And justice is not the judgment of God. Justice is the sevenfold restoration of God, that He makes all things new. He makes what went wrong and He makes it right. And the thing that stuck out to me about the scripture, it says that I will make in the valley a door of hope. And like, I just felt like today that there is a door of hope in front of all of us. Like, whatever the struggle may be, whatever you're going through, like there's a door of hope. Like, there's no hopeless situation, there's only hopeless people. And God wants to give us hope over every circumstance. Like, Jesus left nothing unfinished. Like, He made available, like whatever you need freedom from, like He made that available. Like, He died to set you free. He didn't die just to save you from your sin. Like, He died to set you free from sin, and He died to restore you back to the Father's original plan for your life and make you into everything that He originally saw, and restore back everything that the enemy stole from you. And so, like, I just wanted to preach the gospel for a second. So, yeah. So my message was called Boundless, but like it's just a message of hope that no matter what the circumstance and situation, like Jesus wants to set you free. He's inviting you. There's an invitation. There's a grace available here today for you to open that door of hope and to step into what God has for you. So I just say yes to Jesus. You won't regret it.
Okay. Can't find my way through the smoke. I lost my microphone, so my mouth is going to have to do it. No, I'm just kidding. Michael, I need the microphone. Thank you. I lost my microphone. I'm just a frantic person. I run all over the place, and my husband will go, where are your keys? And I have them on my hand. I don't know. Where are my keys? Honey, I can't find my keys. Where are my keys? And he's so calm. He'll just come up and say, okay, honey, I really need, my husband's so wonderful. He so understands me. I want to be a really organized person. See all my bracelets? They match. Aren't they great? Yeah. So that's how organized I am. I am so... Have you ever done this where you think, oh, I got to go do this. So you go on your way to do that, and then you see the mail needs to be picked up and put out to the mailbox. So you pick that up, you take it out, and on your way out to the mailbox, you find that you left your purse in the wrong place. You go to put your purse back, and then on the way, the phone rings. You pick up the phone, you got your purse in your hand, you got keys. You're going, what am I doing? I got mail in my hand. I'm trying to make my way back to the house. What was I supposed to do? And at the end of the day, you wonder why you got nothing done. Oh, yeah. It's a wonder that this conference is even happening because you know what? I just stand in the middle, go, okay, everybody, do your work. And I just get to stand and enjoy how all these wonderful ladies are doing such a fabulous work. So, T-shirt. Can you believe that's a T-shirt? Did you guys see the 3 beautiful crosses out there? Guess what? You get to nail your struggle, your sin, maybe somebody's name, to the cross. Did I just say that out loud? I'm sorry. It's coming from up here, and it came out here somehow. So no. I love everybody. And there's a ministry called Forgive to Live. And it's directly, somebody out here knew that. It's just on the other side of the fountain there, and they have these wonderful little white bracelets that helps you to remember that you are forgiven. But you know what? We need to forgive those that have transgressed against us, those that have hurt us. And you know what? By forgiving someone that's hurt you, you're not setting them free from their responsibility. It's setting you free, right? So we are here to be forgiven and to forgive. The tears are free to flow. We have wonderful women all around here that are just waiting to catch your tears and to minister the love of Jesus Christ. In the meantime, you know how girls are with no sleeves. You don't want to do this, but what happens to the arm in this area is just not attractive. Churches across the country are going to go, oh my gosh, did you see her arm go? Just kept going after she threw that T-shirt. Triceps, it just doesn't work, ladies. I've tried it. It's just a triceps under all the jiggle. So, okay, I'm going to do an underarm. I'm going to do a girl throw. I'm sorry, those of you that are in other churches, if I could throw it through the camera, I would. But, okay, here's a free T-shirt, Forgive to Live. Oh, yay, okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Catch that. It was a rebound off the ceiling. One more. Oh, I want to give one to everybody. Okay, just don't want. Oh, see, I didn't. If you lift, just another lesson. When you lift is when it, That was fun. Now I totally forget who's coming up next.